And that I see that as really, really key to any business now that is delivering ongoing services. It's not, the days of, transactional relationships with our customers, I think, has gone. And, customers now demand, more than just an invoice from suppliers. Personalized content, whether you, regardless of which industry you're in, and more customer love, as we call it, post sale as well. So not just prior to the sale occurring, but ensuring that what the customer's bought becomes an eventuality.
So you're a smart business committed to innovation, to service and to modern marketing, and you're asking, what's next? Wondering how you can become even more innovative. My name is Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and this is the InnovaBuzz Podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Hi innovators, it's that time of the week again. It's great to be back with you and with another episode of the InnovaBuzz Podcast. I hope you've had an absolutely awesome week so far. Now I'm really excited to have on the InnovaBuzz Podcast as my guest today, Dane Meah of InfoTrust. InfoTrust is a specialty technology partner that creates secure and more productive clients by coupling best-in-class technology with expert support. Today's episode is brought to you by the Transformational Marketing Hub, where you'll find a host of free and exceptionally useful information to help transform your marketing. You can access the Transformational Marketing Hub by visiting innovabiz.co/VIP. If you don't have an account yet, click the blue Take a Peek Inside button, and as I said, it's free and exceptionally useful, and especially for you, my podcast audience. In our discussion today, Dane talked to me about the importance of customer service, customer love as InfoTrust calls it, in delivering an exceptional all-round customer experience in any business. In fact, the model that Dane describes can be applied to any business. We talked about how well-documented processes are critical for customer engagement and for elevating the customer experience and keeping projects on track. And we talked about the innovation station at InfoTrust and how it contributes to many innovative customer solutions. Without further ado then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Dane Meah. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm really excited to welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast today from just up the road almost in Sydney, Australia, Dane Meah of InfoTrust. Now, InfoTrust is a specialised technology partner that creates secure and more productive clients by coupling best-in-class technology with expert support. Welcome to the podcast, Dane. It's a privilege to have you as a guest.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, and looking forward to having a conversation this afternoon.
Daniel Davis, who was a guest on, or who was our guest on episode 136 of the InnovaBuzz podcast, suggested that we get you and on the podcast and interview you. So a big hello to Daniel and also to Francesca and the team at EOS. Now, your focus at InfoTrust is on cybersecurity, which these days is very topical given some of the things that have been in the news recently. As recent as yesterday, I think there was something where Facebook had some issues with data breaches. So it's an area that certainly trips up even the biggest corporations that are right in the IT space. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about how you serve your customers in navigating that maze. But before we talk about all things technology and cybersecurity and also customer service, because I know that's one of your strengths, which I want to explore a little bit more, but let's find out a little bit more about you as a person. So as a young child, what did you want to do when you grew up?
Yeah, sure. So I think like most young people, I had outlandish dreams and aspirations. Mine was to actually be a TV presenter, and I wanted to, so I very specifically wanted to host the football, so the soccer show in the UK, which was obviously football managed over there, and I got as far as nearly doing the relevant university degree, but unfortunately was snuffed out with actually, ironically, a sporting injury, which kept me out of uni as a sort of a 17, 18-year-old back in those days. So not to be held back, but that was my aspiration.
Oh, okay. So you didn't sort of think of starting up your own YouTube channel and running your own sporting broadcast?
Well, it's funny because that was the reason for bringing that up. Is it did have quite a profound impact on me as a young man when I was 17, 18, having that injury, which turned out to be a sort of three-year episode, shall we say. It taught me a lot of lessons in life, and one of those was around starting business and being in the back of the house at home for a lot of time. I ended up starting my own business. The first business that I started was from home as a 18-year-old, selling and trading consumer electronics initially, but later information products back in 2002. And at the time, it was just really doing what came naturally to me, and really researching and finding out and having a passion for sales, and starting a business in that way. But that was really my first kind of taste for business, and it all grew from there. So you often hear the saying that every cloud has a silver lining, and it was definitely the case for me.
Mm-hmm. So where did those initiatives go? Did you sort of grow out of that, or did you sell those?
No. Yeah, so that initial business was, I guess if you can imagine a sort of young 18-year-old with all the appetite and enthusiasm in the world, started the business. It was an income for me, but I got to a certain stage where I really wanted to get out there and participate in the kind of broader business community and in the workforce, and kind of really hone my skills. So it was that point where I decided to begin my sales career. So like a lot of 18, 19-year-olds, really looking for that first opportunity. And in my early career, it was sales via a recruitment industry, which is where I started. And that eventually, when I moved to Australia in 2008, was when I first moved into IT security. Actually, a bit of a funny story again, but my first day in the country, I'd probably call it the Australian dream, was at a barbecue, and was being, I guess you could say, chatted up by someone that wanted to hire me, talking about my experience and sales acumen and whatnot. Found it quite strange at the time, but as he was leaving the barbecue, he then went on to say, "Send me your CV," and that was the start of my sales career for one of the largest vendors globally.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. The kind of first day, you're not expecting that, are you?
No, exactly. Particularly after a long flight, and really just settling into a new way of life in a brand new country. So definitely the Australian dream. And if you look back to an injury that started my sales career, and then just happened to meet somebody at a barbecue that resulted in a much bigger opportunity for me. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. All right. Now, how did you start your own business then? How did InfoTrust come about? Because you mentioned that you were. So was that job in the IT security? That job you just talked about?
Yeah. So there was a large global security vendor, and if I look at that, the time that I was there, I really started off within that business, starting from the ground up. So working in initially in the kind of junior sales functions, and then progressing through into the senior roles within that business. And what that had given me over 6 years, my tenure with that company is really, whilst they were a large global vendor, was a dedicated specialised business unit within that business. And it gave me exposure to obviously people coming through the business, different facets of the business, from support, finance, marketing, obviously managing sales cadence. And, so really, I would call it a real life MBA of experience that I was able to garnish from working in a small business unit of about 20 to 30 people within a much larger business. And it was always siloed and kept quite separate because it was an acquisition. The reason for starting InfoTrust, though, was by the time I come to leave, it was around 2014, I really saw a hugely unaddressed gap in the market. And that was that in the IT industry, there had been, a huge volume of IT partners providing an array of different services, from, outsourced services or software integration. But there were very few that really delivered more than just an invoice alongside security technology. Now, it goes without saying that in security, set and forget is not an effective strategy. That does require a degree of expertise and correct configuration. In other facets of IT, if something isn't configured correctly, you might not receive optimum performance of the product. In security, that might be the back door that's left open that allows a hacker to come into your environment. So the InfoTrust business was formed to address a gap of supporting organizations in correct utilization of these controls to achieve a higher return on investment. And quite quickly, as we started to present this and to customers back in the formative months, that message resonated, and what became a list of benefits on a piece of paper and value proposition quickly formed into what we now call our proven process, and something that we documented via a sort of an engagement model, and that's actually now lived and breathed throughout our business.
Yeah, so you talk about customer love as your customer service philosophy. So tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's probably where the what you focused on in terms of addressing that gap in the market that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and it's certainly in the IT space, customers are, it sounds quite sad really, but they've become accustomed to those elusive sales proposals that talk about high return on investment, total TCO or total cost of ownership calculators that claim to save costs and improve efficiencies, but actually, how many of those proposals achieve that are fully realised? So, the InfoTrust way, which is our engagement cycle, is about surprising the customer or delivering customer love in an ongoing way that engages more than just at the point of sale. And we've developed, as part of our business process, ongoing touch points that elevate the customer experience and delivers a high level of customer satisfaction. So, most of the customers that we engage with will receive a quarterly operational review, which is all geared around examining how that technology or service is being used and how we would recommend increasing performance of that technology. And that's part of our service. It's not something that we bill additionally for, which is what you would typically expect within our industry.
So that will be one example of how you continually keep engaged with the customers. So I'm guessing that part of that then also is risk management and forward assessments of what's coming down the track in terms of new technology and how might that impact on the customer's setup.
Yeah, exactly. I think in the IT space, more and more technologies are delivered as a service, and for many vendors, the transition from being a software provider to a SaaS business, so software as a service, hasn't been an easy one, because the fundamental shift in mindset is one from writing code and developing technology to being a services business. So, in another way, the way that I'd like to describe InfoTrust is very much the as a service part of technology. So that when the technology updates in the cloud and the new features become available, it's InfoTrust is at the coalface interfacing the customer to advise them of new features, functions, or other changes in that ecosystem. So, and whether it be new types of attacks that are coming in, or perhaps the customer's own business use cases are changing, we're proactively engaging that customer to ensure that they remain protected and optimally configured.
All right.
I see that as really, really key to any business now that is delivering ongoing services. It's not, the days of, transactional relationships with our customers, I think, has gone. And, customers now demand, more than just an invoice from suppliers. Personalized content, whether you, regardless of which industry you're in, and, more customer love, as we call it, post sale as well. So not just prior to the sale occurring, so ensuring that what the customer's bought becomes an eventuality.
Yeah, that's a great point. The model from IT that you've just outlined is applicable right across the board in terms of, you mentioned personalization, which is a big thing these days, even right from the early marketing and sales time. Personalization is kind of where it's all headed now. But certainly the customer service experience, like looking at the total experience, with our own marketing that we provide, we believe that marketing is not just around, leading into the sales process. We believe it's kind of a total customer journey, and it's all about the experience that the customer has. So the delighting and exciting the customer after the sale is a key part of all that. So I think that, you've you've got a model there that can apply to any business.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on a really valid point there. We see marketing as three functions, and as you highlighted, it's traditionally seen as having one primary function, which is acquisition or generating leads. The way that we approach marketing at InfoTrust is actually really three functions. So the first or one of those functions is acquisition, of course, but second to that is then the customer support and onboarding experience, and then third to that is the overall customer experience. So support and onboarding experience would be aligned to a particular product, whereas the third pillar, overall experience, is are we engaging, are we elevating the customer's overall satisfaction and ensuring that they remain secure and protected across a broader range of solutions than just the product that we sold them. And that might be through, in our world, through providing pertinent updates around industry trends, security advisories, or I guess general advice and recommendations that doesn't directly relate to a product that we want to sell or have sold them.
Yeah, because the total experience is around giving the best for the customer in their situation, right?
Yeah, exactly, and seeking to add value at every point in the customer life cycle.
So, what are some of the big concerns, I guess, in the IT security space these days? I mean, we've got privacy, obviously, in general is a big one, and we've had the GDPR legislated in Europe in May this year, which I think is something that a lot of people outside of Europe are still trying to ignore, but sooner or later they're going to have to face that. But it sort of deals with data control. So what do you see as some of the big issues in that area?
Yeah. So for I guess the big challenges that our customers face would be, I can talk to security, is that security has become a boardroom conversation. Cybersecurity has become a boardroom conversation for pretty much every business. GDPR, for those of your listeners that don't know, is the General Data Protection Regulation, which is the EU privacy legislation, and the penalties are stiff. It's up to 4% of revenue for a company that breaches the legislation, and for now, obviously, board members and company leaders will need to ensure that they are not breaching that legislation. And a lot of that legislation not only talks to what you should do in the case of a cyber incident or data breach, but also what preventative measures you should have taken. So that raises security immediately in as a boardroom conversation. But the challenges are, in the last 5 years, since the acceleration of cybersecurity as a boardroom conversation, the former IT, refer to them, our kind of industry peers as IT folk, and now the people managing IT within a company are now expected to be security experts. And so we engage with organizations of all sizes, from tier one banks to local council in remote parts of the country. So it's very difficult to a period of where things like digital transformation and other mega trends are also occupying a lot of these people's time for every IT leader or company leader to have that expertise. So obviously where there's a challenge, there's an opportunity, and that's really the opportunity, the challenge that we seek to address for our customers, and obviously the opportunity that it presents for us.
All right. Well, this is fascinating. That we could certainly dig some more into all the information around IT security and technology, and there's certainly a lot there. But as you say, it does require a lot of expertise to keep up with what's happening, and working with a company like yours certainly delivers on that expertise and the service to keep those businesses safe. What I'd like to do is move on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round, and it's designed to help our audience, who are primarily innovators and leaders in their field, with some tips from your experience. So I've got 5 questions that are not necessarily IT related, but they're more around innovation, which you've certainly built into your business. And hopefully you'll give us some really insightful answers based on your own experience that'll inspire the audience and help them do something awesome today.
Yeah,
so what's the number?
I'll try my best.
Thanks. What's the number one thing anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
I think the number one rule in our business is there's no such thing as a bad idea, and we encourage our team to be empowered to solve problems with new ideas. And that's been, innovation has been a core value for our business, and that's how we describe that. A lot of people think to be innovative you have to come up with the next big idea. It doesn't need to be. It can just be a simple process or a fix to something that is actually slowing a person, or slowing down the customer's experience. So that's really it's there's no such thing as a bad idea. It's really one thing that you should encourage your team to take on and really start innovating with baby steps first, and then that creates momentum, and once you have momentum and people do feel free to take a risk or suggest something that may or may not be the best idea, but isn't going to be poo-pooed, then that's how we approach it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. There's a couple of things I love about that. First, you're building a culture of innovation by accepting all ideas, and also recognizing that the innovative solution might not be kind of a world-shattering new invention. It might just be the best way to do something simple. And I had a great example of that. This week I was listening to a podcast, and I got an idea from that podcast, which, once the person mentioned this idea, it was kind of like I'd hit a brick wall, and why didn't I think of that? That is so obvious, but yet, even though it's so obvious, I didn't think of it, so therefore it's innovation.
Yeah, exactly. And the best innovations can simply be a refinement to a customer presentation. It's iterative. Doesn't need to be singular. It's all building on each other's ideas, and that's where collaboration and innovation come together. And I think that's another key part is to be innovative. Having collaboration with your team, because 2 brains are better than 1, and quite often you'll have a great idea, but you haven't thought of every implication of that idea, whether it be to implement a new system or change the way we engage customers. So having multiple people contribute on the same idea can also be a really valuable way to get the best innovation within your company.
That might just be the answer to the second question, which is, what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas?
No, I've probably saw this question, and I think the something which we created a few years ago is called the Innovation Station, and we have a board in the office, and the team are encouraged to put any idea, no matter how big or small. Each quarter we have a team of about 30, and each quarter we generally will get anywhere from about 15 to 25 ideas. And at the end of each quarter, we'll rate those ideas and implement the ones that we like, and provide an award to the best ideas. And where some ideas will require further development, we will provide the support to the person to promote and evolve that idea. And to date, we've had some brilliant outputs from that has been in place for a few years now, as I said. And it's always a source of rich content and rich innovation. And as I said earlier, they're not necessarily all groundbreaking. We categorize these into customer experience, products, and internal, because we also want to innovate our culture and how we engage each other. So one of the winning ideas was, and this again as an example, doesn't have to be the best or the most innovative idea, but this was a 1,000,000-step challenge. So we've kicked off a kind of health and well-being challenge internally to innovate, or rather improve the overall well-being of everybody. And the impact that had on culture, we have found that team members were going on walks. The level of overall fitness and engagement into this program was unbelievable. And that brought the teams together, which obviously delivers better outcomes as a business as a result. So, on the sort of product side, we've had ideas around building much more comprehensive product platforms, and that idea has been evolved and is also being put into practice now. So we're in a build phase of a product that was created using the Innovation Station. That's my favourite tool. It has a catchy name, and encourage everyone to create one in their office.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that, and it's sort of obviously become part of the culture of your organisation, because it's working really well, and you've built it into not just having that innovation station, but building it into awards and a proper process for assessing the ideas and then implementing ones that everyone deems to have value and be realistic. So yeah,
exactly.
So what's the best way to keep a project or a client on track? I guess this is probably something you've got some really good processes around, because it would be really important in a security environment.
Yeah, look, I think the types of projects that we deliver, generally, we have services engagements, consulting type of engagement, but I think the one that's more applicable to this question is around deployment of technology, and it takes clear communication is obviously critical, and setting clear expectations. So obviously, with a project, we define what the steps are that are required to deploy a given technology, and really keep the customer accountable to that project plan. When they do, of course, customers can have other priorities, or things can start to drop back a bit in terms of an engagement on a project. We have processes to escalate the conversations if we feel that a project is going off track. But generally, it's all about setting the clear expectations, locking in calls at a regular time every week, or if it's multiple calls in the same week, having those locked in advance are key to our process.
Yeah, so the communication aspect, and then I like the clear process for escalation should things get stuck a little bit.
Yeah, right. Quite often the engagement will be at the senior level, but the implementation will be somebody else. So it's just maintaining those multiple lines of communication, so that if things do start to go off track, we can both escalate internally as well as within the customer's side.
Okay, yeah, and also it doesn't become a conflict situation because it's a clear process, right?
Exactly right.
All right. What's the number one thing anyone can do to differentiate themselves?
So I think it's adding value. It sounds obvious, but the best thing we ever did when we started InfoTrust was we thought about all of our stakeholders, all the different types of stakeholders that we had, from different customers, different personas within customers, to even our partners. So, alliance partners and technology vendors. And we documented and we wrote down really how could we add value to them. Right? Ultimately, relationships are built on value and the value that we deliver or derive from each other. And that's the foundation for what our business is about. It's about delivering ongoing value to our customers. And selfishly, happy customers generally buy more. They renew existing services. So I often found it quite amazing that anybody would neglect the customer after the sale, because that's not a great experience. They're not likely to want to come back. So it's a fairly obvious one for me, but it's adding value.
Yeah. Well, when you say it's obvious, recently a couple of guests have said common sense, and I said, well, common sense is not so common. So I think it's a good thing to re-emphasize each time.
Absolutely, and go through the process as well.
All right. So, what's the future for your business then?
So the future, we have defined the vision of where we want to be, and we're working with Daniel Davis and EOS, so we've defined a very clear vision. By 2023, we want to be a global, sustainable cybersecurity practice, the market leader in the markets that we operate in. That's considered to be the award-winning employer of choice. Obviously, I'm quoting now from our vision, but look, overall, if I kind of take it back, the future for me is creating a business that's both somewhere that people want to come and work, and the de facto choice for cybersecurity, certainly in Australia, and as we venture overseas in the markets that we operate in. And in terms of what that future looks like, we've defined our product strategy and our go-to-market, but clearly this space is moving so quickly. I wouldn't want to guess what the future would look like in 5 years from now, because I dare say it'll be very different to how it is today.
Yeah. Well, technology is moving so fast, but at the same time, I think that opens up lots of opportunities for all kinds of businesses, and it probably keeps loading on to a need for, higher levels of security and higher awareness around security across all kinds of organizations.
In our industry, it's very fast paced. 2 years ago is very different from how it is today. To be successful, we have to continually evolve, continually innovate, think of new ways that we can add value, but also solve the problems of today. As you rightly pointed out, barely a week goes by, or even a few days go by without another incident. So it's about, okay, how is that different from the incidents of last week, last month? How can we pivot what we're doing to ensure we're staying one step ahead of the adversaries, the hackers or the people behind these attacks.
Yeah. All right, it's great. What do you think is the number one piece of advice then that you'd give to any business owner that wants to be a leader in their field?
For me, the number one piece of advice is, and again, it's going to be, pretty simple and pretty common sense, but I think it's specialised. Our business, and within our first year, we're able to acquire over 100 customers because we were the experts at what we had chosen to do. As you start to become too broad, or you try to take on too many areas of at once, your value proposition is weakened. So my fundamental belief is specialise, be the expert, and once you're the expert, of course you can broaden, but not at the expense of becoming a generalist. So clearly there are spaces for generalists. Maybe they're the expert at being a generalist, but be an expert in what you do. So for us, that's cybersecurity. But if we were having a deeper conversation, it's not everything in cybersecurity. We have very specific areas that we will support our customers in, and if it's outside of that, we'll say that's not our area of specialty. We'll look towards a partner or recommend a third-party organisation. And that allows us to be purely experts at what we do and always deliver the quality of service that our customers have become accustomed to.
That's such great advice. And I mean, like you say, it's common sense, but a lot of people have this fear of missing out. So if you're focusing really narrow on one aspect of cybersecurity, there might be a bunch of people that need some other area of cybersecurity, so I'm going to miss out on all of that. But what people don't realise is that because you're the expert in one specific area, all the people that need that service are more likely to come to you than any generalist. And also, if you're passionate about that particular topic, that particular area, and also a good match for the ideal clients in that area, then everything works for everybody. It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, look, it also gets you an audience with, for us, because we're the expert and we've chosen the field, it gets you an audience with much larger organisations. So, the complete vindication for this point was, we were in with one of Australia's largest banks, and after the meeting, it was a meeting that had overrun because of so many questions and so much engagement, overrun in a good way. And after the meeting, my co-founder was pulled aside and said, look, we have a lot of people come in to present to us. Your level of expertise is unbelievable on this topic. And, to me, that vindicates, so that, they later became a customer, but it vindicates being an expert. What you do allows you to, truly address the customer concerns and really punch above your weight. We're competing with the big, multinationals in this account, and pretty much every business that we, the large end of town. But we win because of our level of expertise, and that's as I say, something I just really passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice. All right, thank you, Dane. This has been really great. Where can people reach out to you and say thanks for what you've shared with us?
Yeah, sure. So the best place to find me would be on my LinkedIn page. So Dane Meah on the LinkedIn, or feel free to drop into InfoTrust.com.au and check out our website, and you can contact me through the usual pages within that page.
All right, and we'll have links to all of that in the show notes accompanying the episode. So finally, who would you like me to interview on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, and why?
Okay, so I'll put some thought into this one. I'm fortunate enough to know quite a few people that inspire me, but also are good people to know in terms of the business world. And the person I want to recommend I've known for a few years, and runs his own software development and app company called Xamarin Consulting, and the person's named Drew Alexander. Very, very knowledgeable on the topic. And like most businesses, if you're planning to build apps and want to transform your customer experience, this is an area that you may be looking into at the moment. And certainly Drew's the man to know in that regard.
All right. Well, Drew, if you're listening, look out for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Dane Meah. All right. Thanks so much, Dane, for sharing your time and your insights with us so generously today. It's been really great. I've enjoyed this a lot. I've got a whole page of notes here and scribble, so I'll try to make some sense of that, and we'll put together some show notes to help everybody, but I hope that everybody listens to the entire interview, of course. I wish you all the best for the future, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you again, and look forward to hearing future episodes.
Thanks.
Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed meeting Dane, and as I did, enjoyed hearing from him. I like how InfoTrust are really clear on their customer service mission, and Dane certainly explained it in a way that I think makes their approach easy to apply in any business. I'd love to know what you took away from Dane's episode. Leave a comment below the blog post, which you can find at innovabiz.co/Dane Meah. That is DaneMeah, all lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/Dane Meah. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with Dane there, as well as links to all the resources that we mentioned. Dane suggested I interview Drew Alexander, Director at XAM Consulting, on a future InnovaBuzz podcast. So Drew, keep an eye on your inbox for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Dane Meah. Remember to visit innovabiz.co/VIP to access the Transformational Marketing Hub and all of its free and exceptionally useful information to help you transform your marketing. Stay connected. Head on over to iTunes or Stitcher or Pocket Casts and subscribe to the InnovaBuzz podcast so you make sure you'll never miss another episode. We'd also love you to leave us a review, because what you think matters. Take some of the ideas you've heard today and apply them in your business. Any thoughts, ideas, suggestions or questions, share them in the comments below the blog post. And remember, if you want to get better marketing results than you ever have, join our fantastic LinkedIn community at the Transformational Marketing Academy. All you have to do is go to innovabiz.co/TMAC. It's free to join. Hope to see you there soon. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz. Remember to be awesome and keep innovating.